And actually, I want to, before I go to Irungu, I want to just to mention the kind of corruption perception index, the kind of statistics we have here. If we can have this up on the screen, so that we get a sense of what it means, the public sector corruption and how it impacts the continent. It says the continent ranks lowest among global regions in the Corruption Perception Index, and this is the Transparency International's ranking of 180 countries by their perceived levels of public sector corruption. Roughly 43% of Africans are living in poverty, but at the same time, over $50 billion worth of stolen assets flow out of Africa every year. Misappropriated funds account for 25% loss of development resources in Africa. Of course, we have some hope there because it says Botswana, Seychelles, Cape Verde, Rwanda, and Namibia are right now scoring much better on the index compared even to some countries in Europe, including Italy, Spain, Greece, and Hungary. So there's a grim picture there. A lot of money being shipped out of Africa. Here we're talking about billions, while so many are living in squalor. If now I may go to Surrey in Britain, Irungu, I want to bring Irungu in here. You probably had those numbers and the reality on the ground according to Transparency International, and then the comments from Ambassador Chomri Kwao. What do you say in terms of the responsibility of the Africans themselves as opposed to the those who enable corruption from outside of the continent?
Thank you, Vincent. I think from Amnesty's perspective, we really see corruption through two filters. The first is that wherever you have a corrupt state, there will be neglect of essential services to health, education. There will also be a neglected criminal justice system, and the police will not have the tools that they require to keep all of us safe. The second lens is really through many whistleblowers, people who risk their lives to expose and to investigate corruption. Many of those are human rights defenders, and they're essentially driven by the idea that no citizen should be left in the fear of want in terms of their basic social services, nor should they really be frightened that they will be harmed in any way. So I think for us, these two filters is how we would look at corruption. And I think, in the context, if you look at the news coming out of Africa at the moment, something like 40 South African politicians or political leaders have been assassinated in the last year for fighting corruption. We've seen horrific cases of killings in Kenya associated with two county governors, the governors of Migori and Garissa. So in many ways, there is a fierce battle really for the conscience of the continent. And I think Transparency International helps us to think through this probably best when if you look at the bottom 5 most corrupt states on that index, they're characterized by no public services, child labor, huge inequalities, conflict, and violence. Many of them don't have a free press, nor do they have civil society organizations, and in many ways they are failed states. So the presence of corruption is fundamentally one of the blocks on human rights and democracy across Africa.
Yes.